a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
All right, Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. We're powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Realty, helping you win in any marketplace. That is our goal. 10 years on air, serving as a consumer advocate, making you more street smart here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We do that by interviewing all types of great business owners, CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys, local service providers, home service providers, and more on the show. And we love to engage with you. One of the best ways for us is to get the feedback from you is to engage on our hotline. You can call or text the show at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. You call or text that line. We'll put you in touch with any of our expert contributors. Also, consumerqb.com is a plethora of information on our website at consumerqb, like quarterback.com. All right, we got a great lineup for you today. Brandon Faust in the house, Mold Solutions. We're going to talk about some of the unknown factors surrounding mold in your real estate properties, commercial, residential properties. We've had some scenario over the years where we talk with Brandon, and a lot of times folks don't even know what's happening in their home. Testing modalities as well. How do we test for that? More coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Before we do, we always like to feature our real estate properties live on air. It's part of our strategy that helps us sell our real estate properties, our listings, faster for more money. 18522 Gulf Boulevard, Unit F on Indian Shores. This is a waterfront property, beautiful property on the beach. If you look out the right-hand window, the right side of the window, you're looking at the Tom Stewart Causeway, the intercoastal waterways right there. And if you look out the left side, you're looking at the Gulf of Mexico, the beautiful waterfront beach listing from the Platinum MVP team. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 1979 square feet. Now, one of the cool things, too, you have a $250 HOA, very low HOA. I mean, that's unbelievably low. And then you also have the ability to rent this out. You can short-term rent this property, and it is listed just over $1 million. So $1 million listing of mine at 18522 Gulf Boulevard, Unit F, Indian Shores. One of our hot real estate listings from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Realty. All right, we also have a listing, another waterfront property at 5930 River Road in Newport Richey. 5930 River Road. This is a half-acre property, 80 feet of frontage on the Cody River, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bath. Bring your boat, your jet skis, your canoes, your kayaks. Enjoy that Florida lifestyle to the fullest here at 5930 River Road, Newport Richey, Florida. One of our hot real estate listings here from the Platinum MVP team, Keller Realty, Livian Coastal Elite as well. You have a metal roof, stone construction, cypress wood shingles, and a great opportunity to own real estate. You can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. Check out PlatinumCoastalElite.com. That's right, raising our glass to our veterans out there. Thank you for all the service that you have given this great country, and we do offer discounts for veterans, first responders, teachers, nurses, and seniors as well at the Platinum MVP team, Keller Realty. I want to give a shout out to Brio Tuscan Grill International Plaza, and it's also an opportunity for you to meet our team. We do on the third Thursday of the month, we have our gratitude parties. We have basically a business mixer, a networking function where we're inviting our show partners, our real estate agents, and all types of awesome people to come over and hang out at Brio Tuscan Grill, 2223 North West Shore Boulevard. It's at the International Plaza Mall. And Brio, by the way, is our restaurant partner for the Consumer Quarterback Show. Excellent food, fresh from scratch, Tuscan-inspired recipes, delicious food. Salmon fresca is the most popular item. Monday through Friday, they have an happy hour there. You get a lot more bang for your buck there as well. And Brio Tuscan Grill Chef Oscar Ramirez and Joey, the general manager, let them know the real estate quarterback sent you, and they're going to hook you up with a free appetizer just by mentioning that you're a fan of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Don't forget, save the date, third Thursday of the month. This month, it's on February 15th, 6 o'clock. We hope hope to see you there and come over and meet with us, and you can be introduced to some of our expert contributors, our on-air personalities that you hear on the Consumer Quarterback Show as our daily 4 o'clock drive time show right here on 860 The Answer. All right, Brandon Faust, back in studio. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Always glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. So, Mold Solutions, tell us a little bit more about your company. I know it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know when it comes to mold, and I think a lot of people have kind of misunderstandings too.
You know, it's interesting. When I got to Florida, my wife, she said we should get a mold test. And I was like, I'm not spending the $400 on the mold test. We've already gone through all these tests. I don't want to spend more money. And sure enough, she was absolutely right. And this is before I'd gotten into the mold industry. We should have done it. And I think it's one of those things that more and more people really need to look at, especially if you're coming to a moist, humid climate. And you never know what's going on with those homes in terms of the pipes, the HVAC, and the various places that mold can raise its ugly head.
Yeah.
So, I got into the industry. Really, it was, serendipitous. A buddy of mine had asked me to get involved. And initially, I turned him down. And then he said, well, there's equity involved if you do. And I had a baby on the way and said, it might be a good idea to do that. So got started, got all the training, certification. And a month after my son was born, he actually started waking up having a really difficult time breathing. 3 days in a row, almost like an asthma attack. And,
wow.
My wife wanted to take him to the emergency room. And I was like, okay, we can do that, but let me just check to see if it might be environmental. I'd gone through all this training, and it was something that might be a possibility.
Wow.
And sure enough, we had a leak that we didn't know about. It was behind a wall. It was a pinhole leak. And there was enough moisture that the actual furniture, the shelving system in that room had started wicking up water and had developed a huge colony of mold behind this furniture. It was hidden. And that furniture was in the same room that the HVAC was located. So it was taking that moldy, toxic air and distributing it throughout the house.
Yeah.
So we found the leak and fixed it, cleaned it up, and then sanitized the entire home. And within, the next day, literally, he slept an hour longer, and he had no trouble breathing whatsoever.
Wow.
And that was, for me, the first moment where I was like, well, there's really probably something to this. And I thought about what would have happened with my son had we not known that this might be an issue. Because, although I recommend, obviously, if there's a health issue, you want to take the proper actions, you also want to make sure that you find the right cause of the problem in the first place. Right. So we could have taken him to the emergency room, and who knows what tests he would have gone through and what, medication he might have been put on. And it was just from the home and the toxicity of the home making him sick. And I think that's something that many people need to question and look into. If they're having some sort of physical ailment, is the home playing a role or contributing to that?
Right.
It's one of those things that oftentimes it goes overlooked. I had a family that, we're helping right now. We're actually mid their job where the wife is pregnant and they have a 2-year-old, and they've been sick. The entire family has just been chronically sick, runny nose, coughing, congestion, fatigue, and not sleeping. And they thought that it might be mold. They'd heard, various things here and there, and they finally had us come out to their house. And we checked in the HVAC, had an inspector come out. It was confirmed, yes, there was mold in the HVAC. Behind the kitchen cabinets, there was also mold. They had a leak, and it had been sitting there for a while, and there was a toxic mold behind the cabinets. But there was still something off, and the wife and the woman of the house, she had one of her contractors come and start pulling up some of the luxury vinyl plank. And what happened is they were trying to save money, and they didn't want to pull up the old wood floor. And it was a wood floor glued down on concrete. But by putting the LVP, the luxury vinyl plank, over that wood, they prevented it from breathing.
Wow.
So that moisture was now being trapped. So
Yeah.
once they opened it, it was unbelievably musty, and it was throughout the entire house.
Wow.
Because the luxury vinyl plank was actually acting as a vapor barrier.
Right.
You
Keep
know.
it basically trapping it down there, and it's just spreading sideways.
Yeah, keeping the water there.
Wow.
And mold loves wood and organic material.
Right.
So where there's moisture, where there's water, there's life. And if it's not, if you don't have that properly being dried out, it could definitely wind up in a really moldy mess.
Yeah, I can see that. We're talking with Brandon Faust here. Mold Solutions is the company, and when you think about this scenario, I mean, the story you just told is kind of kind of a situation that I think may be playing out for some people, but they don't quite catch it. They just keep, giving the kid antibiotics or whatever it might be, going to the same doctors. But when it gets to that point where you're like, hey, what else could this be? You got to kind of think outside the box and consider maybe this is my home, or maybe it's my office. Maybe it's my workplace where I'm working. Or I know at some point too, you told me a story where I think you or someone that was in your network was traveling, and they went to a hotel room, and they felt it immediately. You could almost be sensitive, because I know some people are a little bit more sensitive to certain things than others, correct?
Completely. And it depends on the mold. Different molds are going to have more toxicity than others. Now, I want to kind of add clarity to that. I don't think that there's any mold that's a good mold to be in the home. And, just the spore itself can act as a foreign invader that can trigger, similar to like getting bit by a mosquito or stung by a bee. You can have a histamine released, and it starts to swell up, or it starts getting itchy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't require a specific type of spore to create that effect. So there's really no mold that's a good mold in the home. So you kind of hear that sort of myth, I like to call it, oh, it's just that old Florida smell, it's musty, or that mold's not really concerning, it's not black mold, you don't need to worry about it. Oh, it's just that bread mold, or, oh, it's just mildew. Mildew is a euphemism for mold, right?
Wow.
It's like saying the person died or the person passed away. It's just a better way to say it.
Wow.
Mildew is mold. So
right.
If you're seeing like stuff growing on your shoes, growing on clothes, or stuff even in the shower, you definitely want to start looking deeper. Is there potentially a source that we don't know about? Because you're right, when you're traveling, it could go both ways. It could be you leave your home, like that family that I was just telling you about. They went to a hotel, and all of a sudden they were sleeping better. First full night's sleep in months. The cough went away. So it could be you leave the toxic environment and you feel a lot better.
Right.
Or it could be that you go into a space and it actually starts having a reaction. Like I had that when I went to Cancun.
Mm-hmm.
We had walked into that hotel, and it was so musty. I was like, "There's no way that I'm going to put my family in this hotel room."
Right.
We were paying like top dollar, but it was still musty and moldy. And I started turning furniture, and sure enough, there was growth behind the cabinets.
Wow.
And it happens in a humid climate that's close to the water, which is what we are here in Tampa Bay. We're on a peninsula.
Yeah, exactly.
So you definitely need to watch for it and, be thinking with it. By the time we were done with that trip, even though we got moved to a different hotel room, the entire family was sick.
Wow.
Because it's going to tax the immune system. And even though it's either the cause or it could be just a contributor, but one way or the other, your immune system is getting taxed. Yeah. And you have to think with that, the environmental factors that, or the toxins that you're breathing in, and the impact it can have on your health.
Right. We're talking with Brandon Faust here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. We're going to talk about testing modalities up next. Like, how do you test this? How does it come back? And, some of the different misnomers also out there. And then also from firsthand experience, Brandon, you were saying, where did you see it first? Sometimes it's in the baseboard. I saw it on my punching bag at my gym. I've got a black punching bag, and a couple of years ago, you helped me solve that issue with mold in my own home. It was a new construction home, so I was like, wait, how can this be? I have mold already. And so, we tracked it down, and you were able to treat it. So we're going to take a quick break there. More with Brandon Faust, Mold Solutions, coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Follow us online. We'd love to connect with you. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Brandon Rhymes Realty. Do us a favor. We're close to hitting another milestone on YouTube. So if you pull out your smartphone, subscribe to the YouTube channel, really be doing us a big favor. Brandon Rhymes Realty, Consumer Quarterback Show on YouTube as well. Taking a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you've been listening to the phenomenal Brandon Rhymes, the Consumer Quarterback Show.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
I want to give a special thanks to Satellite Phone Store. They just hooked me up with this beautiful satellite phone, and it's a gorgeous phone. It's a great device. It's a safety device as well. Think about it. If you're out on the boat 40, 50 miles out, maybe you're going hunting or you're going hiking in the woods somewhere, you run out of cell phone service, or who knows, maybe a possible terrorist attack. It's not like our politicians aren't entrenched in all this stuff going on overseas, all over the place, all over the world. Could be a terrorist attack. They could attack the power grid. They could attack the cell phones. Who knows what they're going to attack next. Sat123.com/REQB. Sat for satellite. Sat123.com/REQB, like real estate quarterback.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. Coming up, Brandon Faust, Mold Solutions. We're going to talk about testing modalities for these mold situations that can happen. Also, a recent success story from him and his company. Family-owned company, by the way. They do a great job out there. We got a hot listing here at 4501 Garnett Drive in Newport Richey. This is a waterfront property. You have opportunity to hit the Gulf of Mexico. 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 2215 square feet. You have a canal frontage, oversized garage, giant 15 by 30 family room, large courtyard in the back as well, grand entry. 4501 Garnett Drive, Newport Richey. This is an attached townhome. Great opportunity on the waterfront, and this is in the Gulf Harbors community. A lot of people love that area. Has a community amenities as well, some great amenities, waterfront clubhouse, heated pool, tennis courts, private community boat ramp, and plenty of parking there as well. 7532 Yachtsman Drive in Hudson, Florida. This is a Pasco County property, another waterfront opportunity from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 1632 square foot. It's again on the waterfront. You have a canal that leads out to the Gulf of Mexico. Brand new kitchen, granite countertops, top of the line stainless steel appliances, and more. Many upgrades there. You also have storm windows, hot tub, $8,000 glass double door entry, solar panels on the roof as well, so you get that built-in ability to offset some of your electrical costs. 7532 Yachtsman Drive, Hudson, Florida. Another one of our real estate listings from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. You can see all of our listings at platinumcoastalelite.com. Check out platinumcoastalelite.com. All right, so let's look at 123.com, sat123.com as well. So satellite phones, what would you do if the power goes out, your phones go out, you have no communications whatsoever? Satellite Phone Store is who we partnered with. Sat123.com/REQB. That's the URL to check out. REQB is like real estate quarterback. That's our brand, of course. Sat123.com /REQB. This way, at least you're able to communicate with people. You're able to, say, hey, look, we've got, there's a supply over here for water and blankets, etc. If there's some type of an event, catastrophic event, you're going to want to be in contact with all your friends. Sat123.com /REQB. All right, Brandon Faust in studio, Mold Solutions. Brandon, talk to us a little bit about the testing modalities. You see something, maybe you open up the air conditioning, or all these different places where you hear this. But how do you test it?
Well, the most usual way, which unfortunately is the most inaccurate way, is actually air testing. So they put a pump, a suction pump in your home, and they run it through what's called a spore trap, and that's pretty much the way that most people will do it. But the accuracy of that test is at best 50-50. Usually I say it's about 70% inaccurate. So you could have colonized growth in a home and completely miss it. I've done tests where I saw Stachybotrys chartum on the ceiling. No question, it was black mold. Did the sampling underneath, and the air test came back clean. But the direct sample came back showing it absolutely was, Stachybotrys, which is the technical term for black mold.
Wow.
So, and we see this often where, you get guys that are not necessarily very good inspectors, but they're going in and they're putting the pump in the middle of the room and calling it, they look at the report, everything's good. We'll go in and we'll see a ton of mold, and then we'll get it tested, and sure enough, it's confirmed, yes, that's growth. So, the air sampling, although it's not the most accurate, it's not that it shouldn't be done. It is data. It is information that is useful. You can look at it and see if the air quality is showing elevation. But you want to look at, direct samples are the most accurate without question. So when you hire an inspector, you really want to know, do they have experience? Do they know where to look? Do they know what mold looks like? Do they know the places that mold is frequently found? And are they looking in all those nooks and crannies? Clearly it's a place where you have water, like near the hot water heater, under the sink, in the bathroom. The HVAC is one where many people that are inspectors, they won't look. Yet it's one of the most frequent places that we find mold. I would say it's probably 80% of the homes that we're going into have a situation where there's mold in the HVAC that is toxic. It's a mold called cladosporium, and it's a really underestimated mold in terms of its level of toxicity and the impact that it can have on the health.
Well, is it a regular home inspector, or are we talking someone completely different here?
Look, if the regular home inspectors, I don't recommend to do mold because it usually is an add-on to what they are doing, and they're not specialists. So they don't necessarily dive deep. And when you're getting your home tested for mold, what are you really paying for? You're paying for peace of mind to know that it's not a situation, or if there is a situation, you're paying for it to be found so that you can properly remediate it. So I would say stay away from home inspectors that are adding it on, and go with somebody who is an experienced mold inspector, who has great reviews, has good references, and is trained and really knows what they're doing. And then those mold inspectors will then write a report, and then they'll lay out what's called a protocol, which the remediator is supposed to follow. So we specialize in the remediation end of it, so we get reports from inspectors, and they tell us, hey, this is what we found. So it is important to know that there are different types of tests. Air samples are one, direct sampling is another, one that you won't see often in the books because it's not necessarily it's not contained in the standards, but we've seen a lot of success with it, is a mold sniffing dog. They're about 90% accurate versus the air samples, which are about 30 to 50% accurate.
Wow.
So they have canines, just like bomb sniffing canines.
Yep.
You have a mold sniffing dog, and they'll go in there and pinpoint the various areas. So you could obviously follow that up with confirmation.
Yeah.
In terms of, yes, that was an area where there was mold. But I would definitely have somebody who has a more sensitive snout, than us humans. Yeah. It's not a bad way to go. And then there's inspectors that are like really top of the line that are going to do some very sensitive testing. They're going to be testing for like the DNA of mold. They're going to be doing a variety of sampling, or they'll do air samples, they'll do direct samples, they're going to do dust sampling as well. So, you want to basically you need to determine what's the best inspector for the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to find it early, because we've seen it happen where we've had deals, and, you're under contract, and all of a sudden now you have mold. And man, I tell you, there was one that we did, it was in a really nice area, and the negotiation came down to the mold issue and the remediation. It was, I think it was about $100,000 change in the list price. So it kind of hits your list price to sell price ratio there. But Brandon Faust, Mold Solutions, what's the website? How do you want people to connect?
Moldsolutions.com or mold.solutions on Instagram.
Moldsolutions.com. Brandon Faust, longtime friend of the show. Support the local economy by supporting the Consumer Quarterback Show and all of our experts. You can find them online as well at consumerqb.com. Taking a quick break, we're going to come back with Thomas Young. It's been a little while since we've had Thomas on the show, but he runs a great nonprofit organization called Helping Cons, helping reduce the recidivism rate when it comes to folks getting out of prison. So really cool content coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.